This is John Kaiser in Vancouver, May 26, 2018 at the Metals Investor Forum. I am talking with Tim Termuende, CEO of Eagle Plains Resources. Welcome to Vancouver, Tim.
Thanks, John, very much. Good to see you again.
Tim, you are a traditional prospect generator, farm-out model type of company. You launched Eagle Plains in the early 90s. You have not done any rollback. You have less than 100 million shares out. You actually have positive working capital. During this period, you've kept alive by farming out projects. But now, the Iron Range project, in particular the Talon Zone, you are spending your own money. Now, the last time that happened in a really big way with a traditional prospect generator was in 2004 when Andre Gaumond of Virginia Gold said, this Eleanor thing, this is a keeper. And he incurred the wrath of some of the newsletter writers who were absolutely religious about this. But I talked to Rick Rule and he sort of said, you know, when they are really determined to piss me off, it probably is a good idea to let them do it. So what is it about this program that you're doing now that makes you comfortable violating this rule of not spending your own money on drilling?
Well, it's a complicated question and a complicated answer. Part of it is that we can afford to take a shot. Right now, we've got, over the past few years, we've built up a pretty significant war chest. We've got over $6 million in cash and short-term investments. And we've come to the realization too that in this bear market, it's hard to find partners. Like, there aren't too many deals out there there aren't too many companies that are coming to us looking for projects. So we said, well, if we want to keep growing as a company, we better change our risk-reward ratio a little bit. I mean, this business is all about risk and managing risk, and we've been successful over the years in managing risk, and that's, again, afforded us a treasury where we can take a shot ourselves. And I've been fascinated with this project since we first staked it in 2001. We picked it up after they'd been held as Crown Grants for over 100 years by the CPR and Cominco. And they came open, we picked them up. We were always very intrigued with it. It's a large iron structure, is the Iron Mountain Fault Zone. And that structure actually trends 70 kilometers to the north, and a splay off that structure sits in the Sullivan deposit. Like, there's a nice connection structurally to the Sullivan. And if you draw that line back to the Iron Range, we're along that structure. And we've basically done it ourselves over the years for the most part. But in 2010, we decided, as we were sort of hitting overdrive with our prospect generator model and bringing in partners, we brought in a partner on that. We brought in Providence Resources. And Providence really had only intended to work the property a little bit, take a shot, and then I think they had another plan to move on to another business model. But they spent the first $100,000 that they were required to when they listed, and we got some really, really encouraging results. And they raised another couple $100,000, put a couple of drill holes in, and found thin laminated sulfides that are sort of a hallmark of the Sullivan deposit. It's a SEDEX type system. You want to see layered mineralization, and that's what we saw. And that's we got excited, they got excited, we were operators of the program. So Providence raised another $500,000 and drilled another 8 or 9 holes, and one of those holes, hole 10, hit the Talon Zone. And it was extremely exciting. Their stock went to $3 a share, ours went to $1.20 a share. We traded 8 million shares one day. Everyone in the world was looking at this thing because they thought these guys might have tapped into Sullivan again. And we thought we did too, and we drilled a bunch more holes with Providence, who incidentally were funded by Teck at that time to the tune of $4 million at $4 a share. They paid for Providence to, and part of that was to have a roofer on the project too, on Providence's 60% of the project. So we drilled a bunch more holes. We found that the Talon Zone itself was not large enough to meet Teck's expectations, or Providence's in the end as well. So Providence, over the next couple of years, lost interest in the project, got interested in something in Arizona, And we basically couldn't get them interested in doing any more work. We were quite intrigued by it. We still liked it. I've drilled a lot of holes in the Aldridge, and it's a very, very boring package of rocks. So if you see mineralization in the Aldridge, something's going on. We couldn't talk them into doing any more work. So we said, look, if you're going to get in the way, why don't we just buy your 60 back off you? So we bought their 60% back in 2013 or 14. And since then, have slowly picked away at it. We went back and relooked at all the core. We still really liked what we saw, and we also realized that there was some structural complexity to it that we didn't recognize before. So we've decided that our geologist Mike McQuaig looked at it very carefully and said, you know what, it looks like it's offset down there, and we didn't realize that. So a bunch of the holes we were drilling never really had a hope of hitting anything because we didn't recognize this fault offset. So Mike projected that this thing should be offset over here, roughly this distance, roughly this depth. And so we did an IP geophysical survey last summer to test that idea, and lo and behold, there's a bright red dot right where Mike projected it would be. It's a strong conductor. The geophysical guys said this thing's significant. There's something about this. You guys pay attention. And so we said, let's drill this thing ourselves now. Let's break from the model and give it a shot. If you're ever going to hit a home run, there's no better project to do it on. Where we're drilling is 3 kilometers from the highway, the railway, the power line, the gas line. It's a major infrastructure corridor, and it actually runs right through the middle of our property. So if you're going to attempt a mining project, there's probably no better place in the world to do it.
Now I understand there's 2 dimensions to this target. The IP survey looks a lot deeper than any previous work done. The conductivity is hopefully related to sulfides and not graphite, and that the sulfides are actually target metal bearing rather than just pyrite or something like that. Your original goal was to sort of look down structure and see if there's more to this talon zone as a structurally controlled deposit, but I gathered from your presentation today that you're also seeing evidence of a possible classic SEDEX Sullivan type deposit, which would be different from what the talon zone itself is. Can you elaborate on the twofold nature of this play that you're doing?
The theory is that the talon zone could be a structural leakage of something underneath it that's much bigger, and that's what the geophysics indicates as well. There's another target about 1 kilometer from the talon zone that sits right on Sullivan Time. It's a Sullivan Time horizon. It's another very strong IP conductor. And back in 2011 or 2012, when we were trying all sorts of different scientific methods to explore this property, we flew an airborne gravity geophysical survey. And what's really intriguing about that is one of the strong gravity anomalies happens to sit right where that IP anomaly is. So we've got something that is electrically conductive, and it's something that's heavy. And so that rules out graphite, theoretically. I mean, you never know. But it makes a very compelling target. And the fact that it is right at Sullivan Time makes it even more so compelling. And so we're drilling 3 holes, 300 meters, 450 meters, and 600 meters. And the budget for that is about, we plan on $550,000 to $600,000. And if it works, it'll be the shot heard around the world. And if it doesn't, it's not going to kill us.
One last question. These days, when you're doing the prospect generator farm out model, often it requires more work to be input by the junior than just surface mapping and some geophysics. You have to drill some holes to create a 3D geological context that sets the stage for bigger operators to see, okay, there is a big alteration system here. Obviously, you didn't get lucky with the first 3 holes. What is it that you would want to see in order to say, well, we haven't just developed a geological proof of context. We want a concept. We want to go ahead and pursue this target further with our own dollars. What will you be looking for in this program to decide whether to try and get somebody big like Tech in there, which has more staying power than a little junior, or risk more money of your own money chasing this?
For us, on the Sullivan target itself, all it would take is a half a centimeter of massive sulfide. If you could see that it was banded, bedded, if you could see that it was laid down on the seafloor as a sediment, which is what the Sullivan deposit is, I think it would just be a matter of time before you chase that thing to its heart. I mean, that might be touching the toe of it or the tail of it, but you can find your way up to the body of it. The Sullivan deposit itself it's called the Concentrator Hill Horizon, and it is on Sullivan time. The vent spewed out metalliferous brines out into the current. Most of it hovered over the funnel itself or through the vent itself, but because of the currents, it spread out over about 10 kilometers over a very thin sheet. But had you drilled a hole in the Concentrator Hill Horizon 150 years ago while you were looking for Sullivan, had you hit that 0.5 centimeter of sulfide, you'd have definitely found the deposit. It would just be a matter of time.
Well, Tim, it's nice to see a play where the junior drilling the hole doesn't have to deliver a barn burner discovery role to give the market a signal that it's game on. I've been talking with Tim Termuende of Eagle Plains in Vancouver at the Metals Investor Forum, May 26, 2018. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much. All right.